with the news. Before we get into that, we've got this in front of us. Can we just thank Trick yesterday for our Trick Award, which was lovely. So congratulations to Martin and to Emma and all our producers, assistant producers, researchers, that entire team, all here, everybody. Thank you so much.
Delighted.
Congratulations, well done, and we're all very proud of you. I'm going to put that down there because I don't think it's appropriate for where we're going next.
Is this a Forestival or a leaving party? What are we doing
Well,
here?
he's welcome to come down here and hold his leaving drinks if he wants to. All legal now.
He may already be in the teepee, taking cover, who knows?
He's been in the teepee for some time.
So it has been confirmed.
Maybe running through your Schofield now.
So
she may very well.
Yeah.
Dancing through it. It's been confirmed in the last hour that Boris Johnson will be resigning as Prime Minister later today. We're expecting an official statement. Obviously, everybody on tenterhooks, although we all know what's going to happen. And watching the news last night, I mean, he was bleeding out. There was no way he could possibly survive, surely.
You've got to mention this.
Yeah.
I mean, brilliant.
Well, I've had this waiting for some months, as you can imagine. But this is the day for it.
It might be my favourite yet.
This is the end, or is it the beginning of the end? You say what's going to happen is clear. It's not totally clear. We think at around 12 noon, the Prime Minister will emerge into Downing Street and will say, I've clearly lost the support of my members of Parliament and members of the government. He wants then to announce that there will be a leadership election and he will stay on as Prime Minister. The problem is that he no longer has a properly functioning government. So he would have to reform a government. And would
he could turn to those who've resigned and say, look, come back and just fill the job in for the remainder. But there'll be a lot of people saying, actually, no, he needs to go now. And hence the Theresa May suggestion. And there is serious...
She would be a caretaker.
She would be a caretaker until they bring in a new leader of the Conservative Party, de facto Prime Minister.
It's all such a mess, isn't it, at a time when we really need strong leadership because of every different situation that we're going through as a country.
Yes, I mean, it's heartbreaking, actually.
It is, it is.
To think that 2.5 years ago, Boris Johnson won an extraordinary victory at the general election. Many people didn't like him then. Many people were saying it was going to end in tears then. But the majority of the public voted for him and had confidence in him. And it began well in the sense that he achieved what he wanted to achieve. Then the pandemic came and many people felt that what he did during the pandemic in the early days was the right thing to do, the furlough scheme, the vaccine, ordering all of that. It all seemed to be going well. And indeed, many people feel that on Ukraine, his leadership has been forthright and clear. And yet, these flaws in his personality that people were warning us about seem to have brought him down.
And well, that's the tragedy. This is so self-inflicted, entirely self-inflicted. But there'll be a huge sigh of relief that we're not facing the possibility, which last night looked horribly possible, of a Prime Minister hungered up in Downing Street refusing to go, you know, and or people were talking about, well, this is just another Trump thing, isn't it? So
well, let's not forget
we're avoiding that.
There are people, many people up and down the country who'll be looking at this saying, you know, this is him, this is what he does, this is what we've come to expect from him. This week, you know, we could see the machinations of untruths unfolding, but they will still say, you know, he's the best guy for the job. And the Tories always eat themselves up.
Oh, yes, we've seen all this before, haven't we? But it would be so much easier if there was an obvious choice to replace him. But there just isn't. And that's going to be a
let's have a little think about that, because there are many sort of candidates waiting in the wings. We saw Rishi Sunak yesterday. His wife came out, the journalists waiting outside of his London flat yesterday.
Tea and cupcakes.
Making tea and cupcakes. I think it was more the price of the mugs that captured everyone's attention. I think somebody worked out that it was £38 a mug of those things. So, you know, if not him, then you've got Sajid Javid, you've got the Minister Liz Truss as well. Where are we going here, do you think?
You've got about 8 potential candidates. Indeed, there was somebody this morning, Suella Braverman, who is the Attorney General, who is saying that she would like to be a candidate, somebody that maybe most people haven't heard of.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Tom Tugendhat is a backbencher that many people think is an interesting prospect. There are those who take the view that somebody who is actively in Boris Johnson's government is going to be less likely to succeed than people who are outside it. And yet there are a lot of Conservatives that I have met who very much like the look of Ben Wallace, currently the Defence Secretary, and say that somebody with a military background, which he has, who has shown themselves to be competent, seems to have integrity and experience of leadership, that might be the right person to turn to.
Another name I'm hearing is Penny Mordaunt, a former Defence Secretary, who's sufficiently distanced from the Boris mess, if you like, that people might say, well, that would be fresh and a different approach.
May have a little issue on your microphone for just a second.
I might have to sit very close to you so you can use mine.
Oh, good. Well, look, please don't cancel me if you're getting too close.
No, that's fine.
You've chosen to sit next to me, not the other
I did want to feel the texture of this jumper, so I'm quite happy.
There is also, you know, you look at those list of people, many of those potential candidates throughout the country, no one will ever have heard of. You know, if you don't follow politics,
but you know what? There may be a lot of people saying, wouldn't that might be quite refreshing.
But do you vote for the person or did you vote for the party?
Well, now this was where Boris Johnson was last night, sitting in Downing Street, saying, look, I had a huge mandate not long ago, an 80-seat majority, because they voted for me. We don't have a presidential system. They voted for the Conservative Party, happened to be led by him. And I think once people get their head around that, then what we're looking at is actually fairly, it should be reasonably stable. We now enter a period where it's quite clear what will happen. There will be a leadership battle, and the winner of that becomes Prime Minister, which, frankly, where we were last night, everybody was thinking, what on earth is about to happen? And at least we seem to have avoided that. That's uncertain.
I would love to talk to the Queen this morning because, incredibly, Boris Johnson phoned the Queen yesterday afternoon for his regular weekly conversation with her. And I imagine he will have told her yesterday afternoon, I plan to stay on. But having to call her this morning to say, actually, I've decided I'm not going to stay on. Well, this is getting more exciting by the moment.
We cut off the pictures so that you could be re-mic'd. So if you hadn't said anything, no one would have known that there was a sound guy had his hand up your jumper.
Yeah, but it's rather fun going down into the woods today because we're all in for a big surprise.
Well, you said it right one then. That's telly for you. So you were talking about the Queen.
Well, I was talking about the Queen, and yesterday afternoon, Boris Johnson phoned the Queen, and he will have told her, I imagine yesterday, I plan to carry on, Mum. And she will just have listened. She may have advised. She is in a position to advise. And it would be fascinating to know what she told him.
Yeah.
Today, he will be saying, I'm going to step down, and I intend to stay on as Prime Minister. But there will be people who think there should be an interim Prime Minister.
Well,
and you've mentioned Mrs May. The other possibility is the Deputy Prime Minister, Dominic Raab, who is the Deputy and is considered by many people a safe pair of hands.
Theresa May, you know, better qualified than any other member of the current cabinet to fill that role in the interim.
And everything that Boris isn't, you know.
Yeah.
Rather dull, but steady, you know, trustworthy, and people will just say a steady pair of hands. And that's, frankly, I think, what the country wants at the moment.
Right now,
because
that sounds good.
And
with everything going on,
she would find it easy to form a government, an interim government, basically the people who are already there.
I hope
with
if
a few
she
extra
does,
people.
she just dances down Downing Street.
And we want to see the shoes,
yes.
and you've got the forest. She will be, indeed, we hope, skipping through Schofield Forest.
Yeah.
and bookending her premiership, you know, out 1 minute and back in.
But the system is working to the extent that it is a party government, it is not prime ministerial government, and the party is going to choose a new leader. When that figure emerges, they will become the new Prime Minister because they have a majority of the seats in Parliament.
Yesterday, when we were watching the news and this pantomime unfolding in front of us, at what point, because then everyone thought 7 o'clock he's going, and then we realised that he's going to tough it out and he's holed up like in a fort. At what point do you think he thought the game is up?
I think in sacking Michael Gove, it was quite clear he intended to tough this one out, you know, and another MP last night was suggesting that meeting, Michael Gove went in and, as a good friend would, with a bottle of whiskey and a revolver, you know, saying, look, it's all over. And what Boris did was he drank the bottle and turned the revolver on Michael Gove. And you sense that's what I was referring to earlier, that there was this sense of, my word, what on earth's going to happen?
Well, there was
and we don't need that uncertainty at the
shades of borrowing from the Trump playbook yesterday. I mean, the firing of Michael Gove, who had been, though, in the past...
he was described as a snake.
Exactly. Described by somebody at number 10 as a snake. That was the official message sent out about him.
Which is a bit rich.
And the idea that I will carry on because the people want me. It is an element of Trump there, of being in total denial. But I imagine at around 4 this morning, he accepted the truth. And that time when one does wake up, or if you're like me, I wake up.
I think he probably sat there and realised he couldn't form a government in terms of all these ministers are gone. What is it, 50 plus now?
Yeah.
he physically wouldn't be able to do it. And that must have hit him at some point this morning,
Well,
too.
obviously, we are all on standby, on tenterhooks. So we've had no idea whether we were actually going to get on air this morning, you know, depending on his
very light down the
timings.
street.
But, you know, this is, well, it's considerably more calm, I would have thought, currently.